slut shaming, have sex and have a baby. Don't even. Sexy bits. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This week I'm going to be talking about slut shaming and kind of the hypocrisy around it and just why basically we shouldn't do it. For anyone that doesn't know what slut shaming is, it's more to do with women. We shame women for having sex, being sexual, which is just so silly. And I'm kind of just here to talk about some of the kind of hypocrisies within it, like things like why we do it to women more than men, and like just some of the kind of inaccuracies that we as a society, like we think some things are okay but other things aren't okay, and just the kind of, I want to kind of just tease some things out and make you realise why we shouldn't be slut shaming anyone. So I'm going to be talking about, why we tend to slut shame women more than men, and kind of where maybe historically that might have come from, and some of the kind of justifications used by society to slut shame women more than men. And then gonna give some examples of maybe in like pop culture or like in the news of where women have been slut shamed but men haven't, and maybe kind of tease some of those out and see what's going on. And then I'm going to talk about why we shouldn't do it, why it's silly. Hopefully you'll have maybe garnered throughout the video why we shouldn't, but I'm going to kind of wrap it up with why we should not do it, why it is wrong and mean and sad. So let's get started. So in terms of why we slut shame women more than men, I think there are a lot of justifications for this and a lot of maybe reasons. And I think like one of the main ones that I hear a lot to justify it is that, you know, the whole kind of biological kind of evolutionary reason. Basically that men have penises and sperm and they're meant to spread their seed, so that biologically they're meant to have sex with loads and loads of people. That's the phrase you hear all the time, spread their seed. I guess it's to, I don't know, populate the world, you know, procreate, all that kind of stuff. And that's basically the justification, that they can kind of be as free as they like to just kind of have sex whatever they like. However, women, biologically, we're meant to be more selective and more picky because we can only kind of get pregnant, let's say, once a year. So we need to be more selective with our partners in case we get pregnant and then we can't get pregnant for the rest of the year or something, and that we have to have like good babies or something, or just for, you know, for ourselves, that we might want to be more selective because we only have this one shot, so we need to make sure it's good, strong sperm to make a good baby or something. I don't know, but that's kind of one of the main justifications, that men are meant to have loads of sex to spread their seed, and women need to be more selective and need to be more reserved because of procreation, and us needing to be more selective, and because, you know, God knows what might happen. And while I logically could maybe wrap my head around that, that was very much of a time when people only had sex for procreation, to make babies. That isn't the case anymore. People, like, I feel like the majority of the time people have sex not to make babies, it's for enjoyment and pleasure. So that argument doesn't stand now because we have birth control and we cannot get pregnant. You know, so it's while logically I maybe could wrap my head around it, it actually doesn't need to be in the world anymore. That logic, it doesn't apply anymore because our whole point of being is not to just procreate. I think a lot of it as well also comes from like just religion and just the high price we put on virginity and innocence and motherhood, and obviously like the Virgin Mary, like the epitome of like, God forbid you have sex and have a baby. And without being violently offensive to religious people, I mean, that story just makes me so angry. It's like why does she have to be like, oh my God, she's a virgin and she had a baby. Like, she is just serving society with everything good women can do. Like, no, like, it just makes me, it's so annoying. And I think that's one of the reasons why we put such a high price on virginity, particularly women's virginity, because, you know, the Virgin Mary, a lot of that has, whether we're conscious of it or not, a lot of that has trickled down to the way we view women now. And we praise women for being pure and innocent, and like, ugh. And like, what that's saying is that like your worth is connected to how many sexual partners you've had, or whether you've had sex at all. Like your worth is connected to whether you're a virgin. What even is virgin? I don't even use that word, but you know, we connect these two things as if they're related. They're not, you know. But I think that's another one of the reasons why we justify it, or why we think it's okay to slut shame women and not men. You know, no one was ever talking about God's penis or God's ability to have sex or Jesus having sex. No one was talking about that, whereas it's all about the Virgin Mary. I think another reason why it's kept up all throughout these years, slut shaming of women, it's to keep us down, it's to inhibit our freedom, because when women have control over their bodies, they have control over their lives. I mean, like, your body is at your very core, like you're the thing you own, the thing that's yours. And when you have complete control and freedom for what you do with your body, then you are free to do everything. And some men don't want that. They don't want women to have control over our bodies, to have freedom, to, you know, and you might just think like, oh, maybe that's just kind of the sexual freedom. It's not. It leaks into so many other areas of our lives in a good way. You know, when we're free to do whatever we want, whether that's sexual or work or money or anything. So I think that's another reason why people have justified it over the years, and, you know, just to keep women down and just to keep women, you know, like sweet and quiet and innocent. And so yeah, I think those are just some of the reasons why we talk so much about women's sexuality and women's virginity and women's, you know, being sluts and whores and not men's, and that's why people think it's okay, but it's so not. So now let's talk about some examples of where we've seen it in real life. So let's talk about some examples that we all probably are familiar with and that I think are silly. One of the ones I wanted to talk about is the whole Monica Lewinsky thing and Bill Clinton. I mean, I could do a whole video on this, but I think it's a really good example, like one that the whole world kind of knows about, that I just makes me so sad. And the thing with this is that, like, you know, yeah, you can say that she was not innocent, that she knew what she was doing, whatever. I'm not even going to dispute that. But it's the fact that she was crucified when he really got off scot-free. He was the president of the United States. He was so much older than, and he was married. Like, there were so many reasons that if we were going to shame people, that he should be shamed for that. She was an intern, so the power dynamic was already way off. She was 22. I didn't have a clue what I was doing when I was 22. She was single, so she was allowed to do whatever she wanted. And so I think fair enough if we had maybe shamed both of them, even though I still think that he should have gotten way more. But he got off scot-free. Like, yeah, he was like impeached, but he was fine, obviously, because he's a man. But she was crucified. Like, you should watch her TED Talk, everyone. I might actually even link it below. She was distraught. Even now, her life, I mean, and like, her name is so distinct that everyone knows Monica Lewinsky. Everyone associates her with that, and everyone will for the rest of her life. I don't know how she goes on, to be honest. She talks about how her mom had to leave the bathroom door open because they thought she might kill herself when she was in the shower. Like, her life was, this was horrific. I mean, I don't know what I have been able to go on. And it's just the vilification and the amount of shaming that was done to her that was insane. And he got off scot-free. And I think that for me is just like the epitome of how we treat women in this society for doing the exact same thing as men. And I think his was so much worse. And he got nothing. And I think that for me is just like, oh, so if you like if you watch this video and you think slut shaming doesn't exist, look at that situation, really study in depth that whole situation and come back to me. Next, I want to talk about the definition of certain words that people like to use against both men and women, but really they come from being about women. So I have them here. So like certain words that I want to talk about are the word whore. So I googled the word whore, and it doesn't necessarily say anything about women, but the definition of it is prostitute. That's the actual definition of it. So then I googled the definition of prostitute. And the definition of prostitute is a person, in particular a woman, shocker, who engages in sexual activity for payment. What I think is so funny is that sometimes we do use the word prostitute to describe men, but we say male prostitute. Like, you know, even with whore, we say man whore. Not that we should be calling anyone a whore, but the standard is that it's female, that these words are female, and that if we want to make it about a man, we add just man on or male on. Well, first of all, yes, we shouldn't be shaming anyone, but two, if we are going to be shaming people, why is there not like equal amounts of derogatory terms for both men and women's sexuality? They're not, because we don't care about men having sex, we care about women having sex, and that's why these words are only about women. Then if you look at the word slut, so definition of slut is a woman, it's just woman, who has many casual sexual partners. And then another definition of it, which I thought which was really interesting, I didn't know this, was a woman with low standards of cleanliness. And again, we say things like man slut, you know, like it's just, words I think are so powerful. Anyone who watches these videos know that I'm all about words and definitions and the meaning they carry. And it really grinds my gears that all these words are just about women. There are no male equivalents unless you add man or male in front of it. And that kills my soul, and I think is really telling of how we view women and the double standards. This video is all about double standards. How we view women's sexuality versus men's sexuality, and it's not even. It's not even. And then another example that I thought was pretty visual that I thought would be good to put in this video was basically there's this Twitter account called Cards Against Harassment, and it's basically this woman who came across a load of tweets about that were from guys that were basically raging at women for like putting up like, you know, shirtless selfies or baby being in bikinis or being like free the nipple or whatever. And it's all these guys, and I'll put them across the screen now as I'm talking, but it's all these guys raging over girls showing their tops or whatever, or even if they were just kind of like covering up or whatever, I don't know. And then basically this person went on to all these Twitter guys, these guys' Twitter accounts, and found that they were simultaneously raging over the women's shirtless selfies while all having shirtless selfies on their own Twitters. And there's just this whole account, and I'll link it below as well, just complete double standard. These guys not even seeing how they were simultaneously giving out about women not having tops on, but then they were also not wearing tops themselves. And the reason they didn't think that there was anything wrong with this is because they believe that women shouldn't be sexual, but men are allowed. Like, they don't actually see anything wrong with that, because they do actually believe that it's okay for them to have no tops on, but that women can't. And again, it's just like, why? And really, like, if you ask people, I feel like there's no actual good answer that people can give you. It just seems to be all complete bullshit. And so, yeah, that one I just thought it was a really good example that I wanted to pop in, and just to point out again the complete hypocrisy and double standard of so many things that happen to women in society. So now let's move on to just reasons why we shouldn't. I mean, if I haven't already kind of touched on it like already, it's so wrong. My position is that, like, if we're going to be shaming people, we might as well be shaming both men and women. That seems, that makes sense in my head. You know what I mean? If we're going to be shaming anyone, we might as well shame people the same. But we don't. We don't do that. And so I personally don't think we should shame anyone for their sexuality. So it would be a lot easier to just stop shaming women. It would be a lot easier than to, like, you know, let's start shaming men on, let's add that on. No one wants that. Let's just stop shaming women. I mean, that's just my whole thing. Like, and like, it's just like, what does anyone gain? I get what, like, men in society gain by doing that. So they get to keep women down and they get to keep the power. But what does, like, the average Joe get from slut shaming a woman? Like, what does he get from that? What does another woman get from shaming another woman? Like, what does she get from that? Nothing. Do you feel better about yourself? Are you on your high horse? Does that make you feel good? Like, what? And again, I'm not by any means on my high horse now. I grew up slut shaming women the entire time. I grew up feeling extremely reserved and like I had to hide my sexuality and that it was shameful. I grew up with all these same things, and I'm only just now learning to come out of that. So anyone who has been there or who's still there, I was there. I'm not on my high horse, but I'm just saying it's so wrong and we need to all stop. So one of the most interesting reasons why I think we shouldn't, this one kind of kills me, and I wish people would think about it some more, is that we talk about, you know, girls wearing or women wearing short skirts, and we say like, oh, well, you know, if you're wearing a short skirt, then you're asking for it. Like, you wanted to get raped, or you wanted to have sex, or, you know, that what you're wearing is somehow linked to how much sex you want to have. And this one kills me because little girls wear short skirts. Like 5-year-old girls wear short skirts. And I'm just like, are they asking for it? Do you want to have sex with this 5-year-old girl? Or, oh, are you a pedophile? I didn't realize. Like, what are we talking about here? That one, I just wish people would think about that some more and like bring it home, like bring the logic home. Like, do you think this 5-year-old girl is asking for it? Like, and any sane person would say, no, she's not. But like, well, why do you think this 25-year-old girl is asking for it? She's wearing a short skirt. Like, if you're saying this 5-year-old girl isn't asking for it, then you are aware that what you're wearing and what you want sexually are not connected. You can make that connection in your head. But then when it comes to a grown woman, you can't make that connection. You think what she's wearing is connected to how much sex she wants to have or whether she wants to be raped. Like, no. So that one for me is really, really interesting, and I wish more people would talk about that one. So I think it's really telling, and it really just kind of shows up the double standards of how we view women and what they wear and their sexuality and all that. Then I just think another really obvious one is, would you shame a man for this? You know, I think just ask people, like, would you, you know, if a man's having a lot of sex, would you shame him for that? And very often they'll say absolutely not, and I'm just kind of like, well, why not? Like think about it. Like, and I think so often it's just we don't even think about why we're doing things. A lot of it is unconscious, and it's just what we've grown up with. We've grown up shaming women and not shaming men, and I'm just like, well, would you shame a man for doing the same thing? And then if they say, yeah, I would, then I'm like, well, you shouldn't be shaming anyone, so like, what are you doing? But that's the biggest one for me. It's just like, would you treat a man this way? No. Then why are you treating women this way? Then something else I wanted to mention, which grinds my gears, is this whole lock and key analogy. I think I've heard this has been quoted to me. I'm sure we've all heard this. It's that, you know, a man's penis is like a key and a woman's vagina is like a lock. And it's like, you know, what they say is like, you know, what do you call a key that can open a lot of locks? You call it a master key. well, what would you call a lock that can be opened by a lot of keys? You'd call it like a faulty lock or a broken lock. And so that's what people use to justify, like, men are the keys and they can go around having sex with everyone because they're the master key. It just makes no sense. Oh my god, I don't know how people are still using this. And that women's vaginas are locks and they can be opened. Like first of all, you really think your penis is that great that you're a master key? Like, oh my god. But this one, I would love people's thoughts on this one, where the logic is, because I cannot see the logic. I really would love to, but I cannot. If anyone ever tries to tell you that, do not believe them. Don't even take it in. Don't even. Another thing I wanted to mention as well is just that, you know, it's not just men shaming women, it's also women shaming women, and that's because we've all grown up in the same society where women's sexuality is shamed. You know, those same women who are shaming other women, they're also shaming themselves. They're also, and that was me, like, incarnate. That was me. I shamed myself for enjoying sex or for doing bits or not doing bits. I shamed other women for doing too many bits. And I just really want people to drive home that, like, you know, I think a lot of times we say, like, oh, well, it's okay to slut shame her because there's another woman doing it. But it's like, no, that's not okay, and this is not okay. Don't just see that, you know, one woman is shaming another woman and then take permission from that, because that's not okay. You shouldn't do that. So I wanted to really make that point as well. And then finally, one thing I wanted to say is just that a lot of times it's men who are sleeping with women, and it's those men who are shaming those women for being sexual. And I just want to ask, you are directly benefiting from her being sexual. Why are you punishing her? Like, how is that wrong? And if anything, you're both having sex together. Why are you shaming her? If you're going to be shaming anyone, again, why aren't you shaming? You should be shaming yourself if it's a shameful thing. But it's not, so why are you shaming her? You are directly benefiting from that. And it really, again, just so many hypocrisies that don't make actually any sense, unless people just think that it's okay to shame women and it's okay not to shame men. Really, it just makes no sense to me when I believe that no one should be shamed for this thing, because it's not a shameful thing. It's perfect and beautiful and natural, and beyond me why anyone would shame anyone for being involved in sexy bits. So that is this video. I hope you've convinced you not to slut shame people. It's not right, and it's sad, and it's mean, and it's really dangerous. I mean, girls have killed themselves over this. It's not okay, whether it's online or in person or whatever. So I just really want people not to do this anymore, and I hope you enjoyed this week's video and you learned something. Feel free to leave a comment down below with any your thoughts or questions. Subscribe to my channel, and I hope you give it a thumbs up and all that, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye!